Welcome to an hour of Health Made Radio. Health Made is a community for natural health seekers where we educate people about common health conditions and share extensive research on the most effective natural health treatments and promote legislation that protects our health freedoms. Our core concept belief is in the innate intelligence and healing power of the body. And if properly supported spiritually, emotionally, and nutritionally, it can find its way back to health. Health Made Radio will bring information from integrative health experts throughout the world. Check us out at healthmade.co. Health is what you make it. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, and I will be your host. Today's guest is Stacy McCarthy. Stacy McCarthy is an award-winning health and fitness leader, accomplished businesswoman, captivating speaker, and respected educator. She's an associate professor in the Kinesiology, Health, and Nutrition Department, where she co-created the Yoga Studies certification program. For her contribution to the field of health and wellness as a seasoned mindful movement educator and integrative wellness thought leader, Stacy was honored as a 2021 IDEA World Fitness Instructor of the Year, a prestigious award recognizing superior instructional abilities and positive influence within the global health and fitness industry. Stacy is recognized for her health and wellness coaching, yoga and mindfulness practices, positive psychology interventions, culinary whole food, plant-based medicine in the treatment of various chronic diseases and conditions. Stacy, it's so awesome to have you on the show today. I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm still feeling all the muscles that you've made me use during our yoga sessions just last weekend in Florida.
It was so great. So for everyone listening, we were at the Holistic Leadership Council retreat, and Dr. Michael was one of the people who got up extra early and came to my yoga practices in the morning, and we had a great time. And I saw improvement just in those few days.
Oh, so I actually did my downward dog better?
Yes, you were improving each and every day. You were breathing better. You were moving better. Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I figured if I had the opportunity, and I think the last time I did yoga, I was probably in my 20s, so a number of years ago. So I figured if I had this kind of an expert and have the opportunity to hang and learn from the best of the best, then I'm not passing on that opportunity.
Yeah, well, you're never too old, and it's never too late.
And what I really loved is that, because it's for someone like myself, I mean, I play tennis, I consider myself somewhat athletic, but it's still intimidating to kind of take that step into doing yoga. And what I really loved with what you're doing is that you really kind of meet the individual where they're at and really have a good sense as to, where you can go and how far you can push it. Because, I mean, some of those poses can be really intense.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of people think that yoga is merely about touching your toes and it's a stretch class, and that's not really yoga's real intention. Yoga's real intent is it's a mind, body, spirit practice, and just as much as you'll get a lean, strong, flexible body, hopefully with the practice and with the right teacher, you'll also connect to a deeper part of your inner self and really find that lasting peace that we're all looking for. And that's why I love the work that you do, because, again, it is the body, mind, spirit that we're working at, the whole person, the whole journey. And that's really what the practice of yoga is. So no matter where you're starting, coming to class with the right teacher can really build it from the foundation up so that you don't quit. Some things are going to be challenging, but you don't quit, but you can modify, you can breathe. And if you stay consistent, you're going to make improvement and you're going to have breakthroughs.
And so I'm curious, you've been doing yoga for a long, long time. It's been like 30 some years. What drew you into yoga? Because this is something that, like you said, it's not just a lifestyle of stretching for you or doing poses. It's so much more.
Hmm. It is. And so just for everyone listening, a little bit about my background. I grew up in athletics. I was a swimmer. And then I got my degree in exercise physiology, and I was teaching fitness, right out of college, teaching all the latest trends in fitness and in the whole health club industry. And one day I stumbled upon a yoga class. The first one I did not like at all. The teacher just was like Gumby and made it look way too easy and really didn't break it down or meet anyone where they were at. So I didn't like it. So a few years later, I took another one, and this particular teacher really, I felt the connection there. And what I started realizing is that there's a big difference between fitness versus health. Because prior to that, it was all about fitness. And fitness is really the physical ability to perform athletic activities or exercise. That's really what fitness is. It's taking your classes. It's, being better on the tennis court, whatever you're doing. But health is really a state in which all the systems of the body, the nervous, the skeletal, the circulatory, the digestive, the lymphatic, the hormonal, et cetera, all of those are working optimally. So the yoga, the poses that we do, that we call it asana, or the yoga poses, is a practice that's designed to create health. Ultimately, it's designed to create health. So I'll premise this a little bit with the concept that I'm talking about movement for creating optimal energy and vitality. It's not necessarily an athlete's formula, but it can enhance an athlete's longevity through this practice. And sometimes people get mad, and I say this again because I was an athlete, my kids were athletes, but sports don't get you in shape, they actually get you out of shape. So I know that's a kind of a controversial statement, but let's look at tennis. You are awesome on the tennis court. In fact, when we were out there doing the tennis drills, the pros there were saying, "Hey, you could be really, really awesome. You could be a pro." They're telling you.
I actually practice, right?
And you actually practice, and you are incredible at tennis. But here's the thing. I mean, even taking tennis, it's primarily a one-sided sport. So one side's getting a lot stronger, even though you may do a backhand, the stopping and the starting, it's actually overdeveloping certain muscles and underdeveloping others. So some are getting stronger but less flexible, and others are getting weaker. So it can create a lot of muscular imbalance and structural irregularities as an athlete, because you are designed, or as doing your sports, to do something specific. So a lot of athletes have these, muscular imbalances and structural irregularities due to the training regimen that they have. So the practice of yoga is designed to bring the weaker, less frequently used muscles more strength, wake them up basically, and the stronger, more developed muscles to bring more space, more flexibility, more mobility, so that we bring the body back into balance. So it's working with the musculoskeletal system, bringing the body back into balance, but more importantly, through the use of conscious breath and specific breath, we're bringing more energy and vitality to the brain and to the mind. And then as we practice, we're really looking at a deeper connection. What keeps people coming back is feeling a deeper connection to their inner self, the self-exploration, the study of the self. As you're moving through the postures, you start to learn so much more about yourself and start to go deeper. And that exploration is what helps people come back again and again. So my mission is really to help people explore that, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, to just have more joy and vitality in their life.
I love that. And as I was doing the yoga, and obviously there were poses, and I was trying to look all cool as I was doing it, but my legs and arms were shaking like never before. Mm-hmm. And so, but what I was thinking as I was doing that, life sometimes is hard, and we're going through some really tough things. But if we just kind of focus on the simple things, focus on moving forward, focus on our energy, focus on our breath, like we were doing there in the yoga, then somehow our focus shifts away then from what is difficult. My arms, legs shaking all over the place. And we then gain that confidence and energy and power to move through it.
That's right. That's right. It's really, it's retraining the mind quite a bit, because in traditional exercise or traditional sports, and we've seen, all the little slogans, no pain, no gain, and, all these type of things. Well, no pain, no gain is truly a fallacy. I mean, pain is usually a signal that you're doing something wrong. Now, I'm not saying that yoga isn't supposed to be uncomfortable and that you're not going to feel discomfort, because anyone who's done a yoga class or even, worked on, lengthening their muscles knows it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable, and you've got to focus and breathe through it. But when you finish your yoga practice, you shouldn't feel physically stressed or stiff or beat up or exhausted. You should really finish with an incredible feeling, that you feel really good at the end of it, that you've done a great self-care and service for yourself. And so and again, that doesn't mean that you're not going to work intensely. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be really focused and work hard, but it means you're not going to force, and you're not going to struggle, and you're not going to beat yourself up at it.
And that's the kind of level of growth, meaning that you kind of push yourself a little bit, but you don't go beyond, so that you're continually striving for expanding, becoming more, learning more, both physically, emotionally, spiritually, and without thinking that you should take this massive leap. And I did feel awesome after. I mean, focus and energy, and you're just thrilled to bits that you went there and did it, even though I had a lot of arguments with myself, before getting out of bed.
Yeah, I always say the very most difficult pose in yoga is the one where you just step on your mat. Making that commitment, just get on your mat, that's the hardest part. And, you kind of have to get out of your head's way and just get up and do it. And for us, we were on a different time frame, and it was really early. It was really, really early, and we were having busy days. But if you can get yourself up and make that commitment, you'll always feel better at the end of it. I mean, you just will always feel better. So you have to kind of have the end in mind with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I never regretted it. Well, let's take a quick break. You're listening to Health Made Radio. I'm here with Stacy McCarthy. She was honored as the 2021 IDEA World Fitness Instructor of the Year. I mean, that is World Fitness Instructor, not just in her town, not just in the United States, in the world. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to Health Made Radio. I'm here with Stacy McCarthy, also known as Namaste. I love that. How did that come about? Namaste, obviously. What does Namaste mean, just so the listeners know?
Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar with yoga, I'll kind of take you on a little journey. So when I first began teaching classes, at the end of a class, students come together and they put their palms together, and at the end they say Namaste. And some of my front row students thought it was really cute to say, instead of Namaste, Namaste. So it's the word Namaste is Namaste. Well, they added my name Stacy at the end, and it kind of stuck, and I just made my business name Yoga Namaste. But another funny story, I was teaching, I used to have a very, very full class at 12 o'clock on a Tuesday, and I had this woman who always came, she always got there early, she set up her mat in the far right corner in the back, and this was her place. And in fact, if someone put their mat there before she got there, she would ask them to move. And one day she came, and the class was completely full. There was no place for anyone to move their mat. And I would teach on a stage in front of the class, and the only real place to add one more person was up on stage with me. So she came in, and I said, well, you can come up on stage with me while I teach and practice here. So she said, okay. So we had a beautiful yoga practice, and at the end of the class, I brought my palms together and I said, Namaste. And then the students said back to me, Namaste. And this woman sitting next to me who'd been taking my class for years and years, she looked at me and she said, what did you say? And I said, Namaste. She goes, Namaste? What is Namaste? And I said, well, Namaste, the divine light in me bows, honors, and sees the divine light in you. And when you are in that place and when I am in that place, then we are one. And she looks at me and she goes, all this time I thought you were saying, have a nice day.
I love it.
So for a lot of people, they're coming to yoga, they don't know what it means. So Namaste is really this connection that truly we are all one, that and when we see that light within each other, then, truly it breaks down a lot of barriers. It gives us a deeper spiritual connection between each other and also a deeper connection to ourselves. So it's really about that shining light within ourselves and to let that light shine. And you can also have a nice day with it, too.
Exactly. I would say that is having a nice day, to be able to be in that light and that unity. So that's the ultimate nice day. I love it. So one of the things that you really, obviously yoga is a big part of your life, but it's not the only thing that you focus on. I know that you talk a lot about what you call the big three, when you educate. What are the big three? What are they and why are they important?
Right. So the big three are really, these are lifelong rituals that I think they really can guarantee your success and living the life that you want to live. So the big three are how you move, which we just talked about. And I believe, again, yoga is a pathway to greater health. So how you move, how you eat, and how you think. And while we could break down everyone's, and, here's some air parentheses, unique good and bad habits into just endless categories, I like to simplify them and break them down into these three main areas, because it's in these three areas of our lives that we're really creating the framework of our lifestyles. So when we come consciously to our habits of how we're moving, the consumption of our thoughts, we're really addressing the wholeness of our health of mind, body, and spirit. So it's just, again, it's keeping things organized in three simple principles, because you and I were just talking prior to this about, how much information is at our fingertips. And it's almost like we live in this age of infobesity, right? We have an obesity of information at our fingertips. And there's so many trends and so many different things people are telling us that it can get very confusing. So by simplifying it and creating rituals around these three areas, it can make it a little bit simpler to start moving towards those healthy habits, or like I like to call them rituals instead. And really the reason I call them rituals is because a ritual is just an action with intention. And it starts to transform our unconscious habits into conscious, meaningful rituals. So when we're really working to bring our best self with full attention into the day-to-day patterns that shape our lives, then we start to transform who we are from the inside out rather than from the outside in. And so this is why I say, creating simple rituals that are very conscious in these three areas can really start to shift your life into a healthier, happier life of really who we are at our core. So at our core, our really true, authentic self is one of authentic joy and unconditional love. But sometimes we forget it through all the stories that we've created around that and a lot of the habits that we've created around those stories. So this is just a simplified way to look at it with simple rituals to add to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I absolutely, we have so much information available to us. And what I see frequently is that we are connected to so much, and so much information that we almost learn nothing because there's no intention, there's no purpose. We're just kind of eating junk information here and there instead of having it with purpose and intention. So I love, how important it is to be able to kind of move through life and move through information and move through all your habits, with these intentions, and then create then rituals around these purposes and intentions. But let's take a quick break. You're listening to Health Made Radio. I'm here with a fitness expert, accomplished businesswoman, awesome speaker and educator, Stacy McCarthy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Stacy McCarthy, and we are chatting about the big three. Again, the big three is a moving with intention, how we eat, and then also how we think, right? Those were the big three?
That's right. How we move, how we eat, and how we think. Okay.
So tell me a little bit about, why is it important to have rituals? I mean, because a lot of us kind of do things as we feel like it and have time for it. And then, so what is it about rituals that make sure that we solidify what we do?
Well, a ritual, again, you're being more intentional and more conscious about what you're doing. So that's the first step. And then also just simplifying it. So if I can give an example of how to create, what I think is important is creating systems around each one of the big three: how you move, how you eat, and how you think. So you're coming to it with consciousness, with deliberateness, and with intention. So let's just take, for example, our movement. So if you want to move more mindfully, make sure you have a space set up that you see. That's a reminder that's right there to move more mindfully. So for me, because yoga is my thing, I've been doing it for 30 years, I have my yoga mat, my area set up right there, ready to go, all set so I see it, and I practice at the same time. So finding that ritual, creating the system to have it ready, not rolling up your mat and leaving it there and going, someday I'm going to get on that mat and I'm going to do it. No, it's rolled out, it's ready, this is the time I do it. So that would be creating a simple ritual, same time, not making a big deal about it, keep it simple. So there's a saying, it's called the KISS method, and usually it's translated as keep it simple, stupid, KISS. Well, I changed it to keep it simple, Stacy. So you keep it simple. And if it's hard to get on your mat, we just talked about this, have it rolled out, have it ready. And the only thing in your mind at that point is, I'm just going to go stand on my mat and see what happens. Or I'm going to go sit on my mat and see what happens. I'm going to take a few deep breaths on my mat and see what happens. I'm going to move my spine a little bit on my mat and see what happens. Don't make it so big. Don't make it in your mind like, oh, it hurts so bad, that downward dog's so hard, and you've already talked yourself out of it. Keep it really simple. Make your system, all I have to do is go sit or stand on this mat and take some breaths and see what happens. And step by step, breath by breath, you may find that you've actually moved your body intelligently at that point. And then if you look at how you eat, so a simple ritual here, or a simple system here, is in your kitchen. If you want to eat better, you want to say, hey, I want to start having a green juice or a green smoothie every morning. That's going to be one of the things I'm going to commit to as my ritual. Well, then set up your kitchen so it's ready. Your juicer is out and ready to go, or your Vitamix or your blender is set up. You have everything cut up and ready. It is available for you. It's right there, ready to go in the morning. You're not having to get it out. It's just set up. So your system is ready to eat better. Or if you want to have a giant salad every day as part of your ritual to get more raw food, more cleansing foods, make sure that that salad is set up and in your refrigerator that you can grab it. It's already ready to go. So your system is set up. And then for how you think, have some simple rituals in the morning and the evening. So right when you get up, what are your thoughts going to be? Right when you go to bed, What are your thoughts going to be? And so I have different rituals set up, very simple, again, set up in order to do that. And in fact, these simple rituals, just for your listeners, if on my website I have an ebook for you that really answers a lot of these questions and gives you rituals that you can do that are super simple that soon, will just become part of your day. And they'll be fun. They're party points in their day. They're not something that you're like, oh, I have to do that. They're really party points that make you feel great about doing it.
Is that the book, Transformational Teaching Through Yoga Adjustments? Is that
no, that's one of my different books. But if you go to my website, Yoga Namaste, and maybe you can put a link in the notes. It's on there. If you sign up for the newsletter, you'll be automatically sent an ebook that is Master the Big Three. So it's automatic. It's free, and it's got great simple rituals for you for mastering how you move, how you eat, and how you think. So it's real simple. But they're things that you can implement right now. And again, I like to call them party points in your day. It's not something that's like, oh, I have to do it. It's like, oh, this is fantastic. I'm feeling so good doing this.
That's awesome. And the best way so they just go to your website, and that's Yoga Namaste. So YOGAN. Yeah, YOGANAM as in Michael, A S as in Sam, TACY.com, and they just go there and sign up for the newsletter, and then they get that ebook with all these awesome.
It'll it will be automatically sent to them. And if Yoga Namaste is a mouthful for you or difficult to type out, you can Google Stacy McCarthy, STACY McCarthy. Eventually, it will lead you to the website, and it's there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, what do you think? I mean, because it's amazing how hard it is to stick to a ritual and really even the small little things. And I like how you break it down. You want to start with just the easy steps, even if it's just getting on the mat. You don't have to make this bigger deal about it, but just getting onto the mat. So just taking small little steps. Like Atomic Habits, that book, or B.J. Spogg's, the Tiny Habits. So why do you think it's so hard for people to take that step to create these rituals?
I think first and foremost, they're just, like we talked about, they're bombarded with so much information and so many new trends and tricks and different things that they're bouncing all over the place to get there. And so when there's too many options, then you tend to not do any of the options. But again, simplicity and consistency is really key. So finding one thing. So you want to transform your eating, do one thing. Make that commitment to one thing. And maybe that one thing is, like I mentioned, a giant salad every day that you just say, you know what? Every day I'm going to have a giant salad with a really healthy dressing on it. And so a lot of greens, just one giant, and that's what you're going to commit to, and you're going to have it all the time. You're just going to make sure you have that, or maybe it's that green smoothie. Whatever it is, make it one thing, commit to it so you're not thinking about it anymore. You're not trying to do a gazillion things. You're not saying, today I am going to go 100% vegan and that's it. No, add one thing that's going to help you move towards greater health. And again, maybe that one thing in moving is you're going to move your spine in all 6 directions, side to side, forward and back, twisting so that the spine moves in every direction. So something very simple that you can do every single day. And then I think the bigger thing, and this maybe I'll swing it back to yoga and why a lot of people start yoga and then they quit. And this is super, super common. You're like, oh, I did yoga. I felt great while I was doing it, but then I quit. And I haven't done it in a long time. And then I got back and I remembered it felt good, but then I quit again. So this goes back to most of us are doing something. And it goes back again, if I can come full circle to that saying namaste, of really feeling this connection to something bigger than ourselves. And most people come to yoga or exercise, or particularly yoga, for a self-serving purpose. They're there to get the yoga body, or they're there to reduce stress. They're there to feel, better about themselves. And so once they're doing that over and over again, if the changes come a little slower than they did initially, a lot of times then they quit or they find an excuse not to get on their mat because it's been very self-serving. However, if they can start to commit to whatever they're doing to something bigger than themselves. I mean, we've all heard the story of someone who lost an incredible amount of weight. Their health was really challenged, and they did it for their family or for their kids. It started to be something bigger than just themselves, and that's how they did it. Well, it's the same thing with movement, of feeling a connection to something bigger than yourself. And so I give an example of, if you had a drop of water and you had that drop of water in your hand, eventually if you just left it, it would dry up. But if you took that drop of water and you placed it in the ocean, then it becomes part of the whole. And you realize that you're connected to all things, that this is something bigger than yourself, that everything is connected. And so when the mind starts to shift from just self-serving, which, a lot of times that motivation can dry up, but you connect it to something bigger than yourself, it makes it much less challenging to continue on doing the things, doing these rituals that are really going to be transformational, because it becomes bigger than yourself. So I hope that makes sense. But I find that for people that have made that mental and mindset switch, these sort of rituals stick with them forever.
Yeah, I agree. I want to expand on that a little bit right after this break. We'll be right back in a minute. You're listening to Health Made Radio, Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, and I'm here with Stacy McCarthy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Health Made Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Stacy McCarthy, and we're talking about the big three, the power of rituals, and why we sometimes have a challenging time to stick to our rituals, and how we can find a place where we recognize importance and how we can connect them to something bigger than just ourselves. So, one thing that I really connected with, and as you were saying this, and also as we've been chatting in the past, is that when you do these rituals, like you're saying, the drop into the ocean, it becomes, you're not the only one in the world doing these movements, and it's not like they are religious, that you are, all of a sudden, it can be any kind of religion doing yoga. You can be Christian, you can be Hindu, you can be Buddhism. That has nothing to do with which religion you're in. It has to do with that you're connecting with these power movements that allows you to connect with the whole. And by doing these different movements with millions of people throughout the world, so it's kind of like the whole ocean, and we're doing these things together. We're connecting, to something much bigger than ourselves, and we are then increasing kind of the energy flow almost globally by doing these rituals that are then supporting health, well-being, and mental acuity, and also spiritual connection.
Well said. Yes, that's exactly it. That we're connecting our consciousness together, and we're really raising the consciousness of ourselves and of everyone. And so raising it for the better of all. And that is really powerful to make us want to come back again and again, and moving beyond just, because just for ourselves, a lot of times it can, that can kind of run out. It can dry up. But when we're on this together collectively, it's very powerful.
And so one of the points that we've been talking about is doing all these things with intention and with purpose. I mean, how a lot of us, we feel lost in the world, so to say. We're stuck in a job that we're just doing to make money. We come home and we're exhausted, and a lot of us then have a drink at nighttime just to be able to disconnect. How can a person shift away from that and start to then live in a life with intention and purpose, so that their movement can be with intention and purpose, and their thoughts can be with intention and purpose, and what they're eating, what they're feeding themselves with can follow along the same way.
I think, again, it goes back to simplicity. Look, if you're working in a job that you don't really want to be there, you get home, you've got all the demands of the household. It's like, what's left in the day? You have basically given all your energy away. And so all of these master the big three, how you move, how you eat, and how you think, are designed to capture more of your energy. So it's a bigger picture, because think about it. All day long, you're giving away your energy. And this could also be in a job you absolutely love, and you're at the household that you love taking care of, whatever it is, but you're constantly giving away your energy to everybody else. And if you don't have practices and rituals in place that recapture your own energy, you will burn out. And it may show up in a lot of different ways. It could show up as cancer, as, illness, as burnout, as chronic fatigue. There's all kinds of ways it can show up. You have to have in place certain practices that are refueling you, rebooting you, resetting you to capture your own energy. And these are the things that do it. Like what we're food is medicine, movement is medicine, your thoughts are medicine. So they're capturing more of your prana, your chi, your life force. So again, if we circle back for the big why, so you can go out in the world and do what you're supposed to do, to then have the energy to give, because you've recaptured your own. But if you've depleted all your energy, you've got nothing left to give. And you're really, you're not living whole as a whole person, body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah, I read it in a book. I mean, to live a life without intention and purpose is trying to, it's kind of like riding a bike, where the inner tube is just punched with bunches of holes, where your energy is leaking in all different directions. And you won't really move forward. You'll put forth a lot of effort, but you won't really move forward very well and very fast. So the key is then exactly what you're saying, is to create then a life, that is filled, that is then with the target of purpose and intention, and then create rituals around that, and so that your words, your thoughts, and obviously your words is an expression of your thinking. So if your thoughts are with intention, then your words become the same. And then also your habits, what you're feeding yourself. Am I respecting myself? Am I nurturing myself so that I can kind of fulfill my purpose and intention? If you do all those things, it's like you're plugging up your inner tube. Is then there are no holes in it, because you're not leaking energy, and you're able to, with strong force, accomplish your purpose and your goal.
That's right. That's right. And the reason that I'm such a advocate of the practice of yoga and the teaching and the way I teach it is because specifically it's designed to increase your life force energy through the ancient techniques that are time tested, from everything of capturing more energy through our deep focus and concentration in the poses, through the capturing of the energy of really feeling like how to move energy within the body. There's so many ancient techniques within this practice of the breath that are designed to capture more of our life force energy. And so it's a simple way. People are, it's like, how am I supposed to do all of these different things? Well, if you can do a practice that integrates all of them every day, it works with your thoughts, it works with your body and increasing energy. Then what happens when you're feeling really good in your body and you're noticing how you eat affects your body the next day you get on the mat? It makes a big difference. So I've had so many students who practice with me who start practicing, and then they go out and maybe party hardy one night, and the next day on their mat, they notice how they move is more sluggish, more lethargic, and they go, that food and what I did last night has a direct relation to how my body feels. And they become more aware. And then they notice, hey, I noticed that when I was eating really clean, I had better thoughts, I wasn't stressing out, how much easier my body moves on the mat the next day. And so that mind-body connection becomes stronger and stronger. And it's such a beautiful way to practice this versus trying to just catch yourself, right? This becomes a ritual instead.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, as you, and I see this with patients, as they are starting to get healthier and better. Initially, they just have symptoms. They feel horrible. They got aches and pains, and there's no correlation between their habits and how they're feeling because they feel horrible all the time. So, but as they are then cleaning things up, eating better, living better lifestyle, better movement, then all of a sudden, they have a feeling of what good is. So they have a kind of a measuring stick. So then they can then see, if I then eat this, I lose, feeling good. I lose this kind of vitality and the energy, and then they can then continually check in with that feeling, and then become more focused and targeted in how they live their life and how they eat.
100%. And what's so fascinating about it, because you don't know how good you can feel when you feel bad. But as you start to feel good, then there's a shift in the mindset that starts to say nothing tastes as good as feeling healthy, right? Nothing tastes as good as the feeling of vibrancy. And their mindset starts to shift rather than it being self-control and discipline, which never lasts very long. It really has to be that feeling from the inside. Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. And when you feel healthy, it's a lot easier to move past a lot of the things that we know don't make us feel good. Once you start feeling it, but you got to get to that point. There takes some discipline initially, but once you get to that point, it becomes a little bit less challenging.
And it is your way of honoring the gift that's been given to you, this amazing body, this amazing mind, this amazing spirit, to continually feed it in a way with thoughts, with information, with food, with movement, to make it to live in the most optimum way so that you can fulfill your purpose with full force.
That's right. It's interesting in the practice of yoga as well. And in yoga, I go back to it because it has taught me so much, both on and off the mat. A lot of times people will quit because they're like, oh, I've got this injury, I can't do it anymore. And I'm like, what's the injury? They'll say, well, my wrist or something. I'm like, well, what can you do on your mat? You can still get on your mat if you can breathe, if you, can only do part of it, if you modify, but you can still do it. So, a lot of times we make up in our mind a lot of excuses of why we can't do something because we're focused on what we can't do versus what can you do. And you've got to shift your focus of, I've had so many accidents and different things. I've had knee surgery at my, finger. I had a traumatic bike accident where I was completely unconscious. And yet I had to not focus on that. I had to focus what's still working and what's working well. And so if you can change your thoughts of not to what's not working, not what's wrong with me, but what is working, it can make a world of difference. And you continue on from what is working. Because the reality is we're all going to age at some point. Some things are going to change. In yoga, I use the example that there's poses you can do now you may not be able to do when you're older, but it doesn't matter. You're still getting on your mat and you're using what you can use and doing the best you can with it.
Yeah, and I after the biking accident, obviously you did not look your best, when next time after the biking accident, and you still went out to teach your class.
Yeah, I had it like with my knee, I had a knee accident, and I had to use my 90-year-old mom's walker to walk in to teach and do what I could. And the beautiful thing is it was an example for my students that, look, appearance isn't everything. A lot of times people won't do something because of appearance. But, the practice of yoga is to not look at the appearance, not stare at yourself in the mirror, because also that gives away your energy into judgment and comparison and competitiveness, but to look inward. So stop looking so much on the external and start to tune in inward. And so no matter what, I may have to stack up, 10 blocks in order to get into the post, but who cares, right? Eventually you keep doing that and you make those small steps and it gets better and better and you feel better about yourself because you didn't quit. You didn't use the excuse of whether it's appearance or injury or whatever, you still did it. And that's really, in my opinion, the best yogi or the best person in the room. It's not who can do the pose the most beautiful, but who's committed and who's going to get in and do it no matter what's going on. You're not doing it towards pain. If we go back to the beginning of our conversation, it's not pain, but it's going to be uncomfortable. And that might be resistance physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. People come with different levels of resistance, and you could be the dancer, the ballerina, and the poses come easily. We have no idea what's going on in the mind. So.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, is to evolve holistically in all areas, not just be able to physically, look good on the mat, but this is to connect to something bigger than yourself and evolve into that and become part of that. Well, Stacy, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show, and I'm so honored to get to know you and to know you as out on the yoga mat and on the tennis court and all the different things that we had fun with. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone listening. I hope we get to connect again soon.
Yeah, and the best way is you have so many great videos that people have access to on your website so that they can connect with you and then start their yoga practice in their own home. And as I mentioned, you've done it in such a beautiful way that it's not overwhelming for an individual, but it's really kind of meeting people where they're at.
That's right. And I really encourage anyone, my email is on the website, to reach out to me personally. I personally answer every email, so feel free to reach out to me personally, and I'm happy to help you along on this journey.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Stacy. That is it for today. You're listening to Health Made Radio. Remember, check us out at healthmade.co. Health is what you make it. 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 Health is what